At the age of 30, I thought I had it made. A comfortable home, a wonderful wife named Sophia, and a lovely young girl, Isabella. Ever since my first wife, Rebecca, passed away, I have carried the burden of grief with me. She died when Isabella was just a little girl. The subsequent sadness was profound and unending, and the loss served as an ongoing reminder of the past. I committed myself to Isabella because I was unable to escape or completely embrace my history. Maybe I could provide her with a sense of safety as she grew up if I could protect her from the depths of my suffering. I saw a glimmer of hope rekindle in me when Sophia came into our lives 2 years later. She carried with her a gentle kindness and an earnest wish to be a mother to my daughter, a hope that, finally, some light could shine into our home after all this darkness. I still vividly recall the early days. Sophia's gentle voice reassuring Isabella, her warm hands comforting one another, and exchanging tentative smiles as we attempted to fit like pieces of a puzzle. I thought I was finally providing Isabella with the loving family she deserved. But as the years passed, gray clouds started to roll in over our newfound contentment. I started to notice little changes, a distant look while interacting with Isabella. Sophia's eyes would sometimes hesitate before she laughed, as if a part of her was holding back. I questioned whether I was only clinging to the hope of a perfect family, not recognizing that the scars of the past might be too deep to heal entirely. I tried to tell myself that everything was all right, that the love we had was powerful enough to cure all wounds. Yet in quiet moments, alone in the stillness of night, I felt the increasing anxiety that I was losing my daughter, that the tenuous bond we had was crumbling under the weight of whispered words and unmet expectations. I often found myself reliving memories of Rebecca, feeling a strange pull toward a past that, despite its agony, felt like a moment when I still had a true connection. With Isabella. With Sophia, however kind and nurturing she was in many ways, there were moments when I sensed that her love was not as deep or unconditional as I had hoped. I observed as Isabella's eyes became guarded. When I reached out for her hand or attempted to share a secret smile, I sometimes received nothing but a polite nod or a quiet retreat into herself. It wounded me greatly. I began to question whether my attempts to create a loving family were nothing more than an illusion. My heart ached with the loneliness of a man who once thought his life was full, but now felt like a stranger in his own home. Every day brought the painful realization that the family I had so painstakingly built was slowly drifting away. I tried to engage, to reignite the lost warmth, but my words often fell on deaf ears. In those long, restless hours, I would lie awake, thinking about how the shadows of our past had seeped into our present. The very promise that had motivated me to start over seemed to be fading into a cold, distant memory, leaving behind only the ghost of what once might have been. Even as I clung to the belief that family required sacrifice and forgiveness, I could not ignore the rising emptiness within me, a terrible echo of the loss that had never truly left. In that solitary war between hope and sorrow, I questioned whether I could ever rebuild my connection with Isabella, or if the dream of a perfect family had been nothing but a mirage in a desert of loss and regret. And so, with each passing day, I braced myself for a future where the love I had fought so hard to nurture was now in constant danger of being forgotten, leaving behind only memories of what once could have been. The air seemed thick as I awoke to the constant buzzing of my phone, a sound that signaled the start of a day I wished I could forget. My eyes were still heavy with sleep when I spotted the streak of missed calls and voicemails from Sophia and Isabella. One after the other, the messages carried a tone of urgency and disappointment that sliced through me like a sharp sword. I sat at the kitchen table nursing my coffee, trying to make sense of the turmoil that had invaded my well-planned, Day. The text from Isabella was short yet piercing. "Dad, where's the food?" It was a question that reflected the widening gap between us, a distance I felt in every part of my existence. A sad smile played on my lips as I remembered the opulent party I had prepared, a celebration meant to mark a milestone in Isabella's life. But instead of joy, I was faced with a reminder that my love and efforts were no longer accepted. With measured calm, I replied, "Yeah, don't worry. It's being enjoyed by people who genuinely appreciate it. Happy graduation." I knew my words, though casual, carried the weight of my disillusionment and the finality of my decision. I could feel the tremor of stress developing within me as my phone rang again. This time it was Sophia. Her voice was harsh, filled with a terror I had not heard before. "Are you kidding me, Daniel? You wrecked her day. How could you be so selfish?" she demanded, her words laden with sorrow and disbelief. I listened in silence, memories of all the tiny incidents of rejection and neglect colliding into a moment of irrefutable truth. My reply was firm, even as my pulse quickened in anger. "I thought you mentioned I wasn't family. Well, I figured I shouldn't impose on her celebration." The call went dead before I could hear another word, leaving me with nothing but the echo of my own resolve. In the hours that followed, every buzz of my phone became a heartbreaking reminder of the fallout that had begun. Family members, once close and understanding, started calling and texting. Uncle Mark's message was simple yet cutting. "This is low, dude. Solve this before it's too late." Cousin Elaine, always the voice of reason, advised me to be the bigger person. Yet I could smell the irony in her remarks, knowing that I had long been more than enough. Their voices blurred into a chorus of concern that both wounded and reaffirmed my decision. I recalled the days when Isabella's calls would fill me with warmth, when her voice, light and innocent, bridged every gap between us. Now her messages were cold, distant, uncertain. They only exacerbated the loneliness. Something sank in my chest. Each message felt like a silent verdict on my worth. As a father, as a husband, had my love been insufficient? Had I been misled by hope, unable to see that the very person I trusted with our family was steadily peeling away my role? Each missed call and ignored text drove home the truth. I was being pushed further away, not just from a celebration, but from the core of the family I had long treasured. As the day wore on, rage and sadness swirled within me, creating a bittersweet cocktail of regret and liberation. I had reached a crossroads. I could either remain the silent, wounded father or recognize that this was a turning point. A moment when the links that once connected me began to crumble completely. That long, excruciating day became a mirror. In it, I saw both my strength and my frailty. Each call I missed, each message left unanswered, echoed a truth I could no longer deny. I had taken a stand, protecting my dignity, even if it meant watching a celebration disintegrate into dust. The anguish of being rejected by the very people I loved was severe, yet softened by the awareness that sometimes letting go is the only way to reclaim oneself. Each ring of my phone became a reminder of what had been lost. I sat in my dim study, staring at the screen with a mix of rage and anguish that I could neither shake nor fully understand. The silence after each missed call reverberated inside me, leaving a hollow space that grew with every notification. It wasn't just Sophia's urgent messages or Isabella's cold texts that filled the log. It was also the voices of relatives and old friends, those who once celebrated our laughter, now sounding like accusers. I scrolled through the list of missed calls, counting them, as if each beep were a monument to a life slipping away. Every buzz felt like another rejection, a tally that marked My shrinking place in a family I had fought so hard to hold together, I realized in that moment that these calls were not meant to heal what was broken. They were simply the final echoes of a family that had already moved on without me.